Good morning, Bucknutters. Today is Tuesday, October the 7th, 2025. I am Dan Rubin. This is the Bucknuts Morning 5 and Change. As you can see, Mark Porter and Garrett Hodge here. This is round two for us. We tried the first time here a few minutes ago. There was a wicked echo. As I told the guys, I like hearing the sound of my voice, and people sometimes don't, but I don't need to hear it twice in my ear. Basically, I had Garrett ask me 7 times if there was an echo because there was an echo. He only said it once. All right, let's give this a shot. I think this podcast still covers the national champions. Pretty sure we're still ranked number 1, but we are flying blind here. And as I said, at Bucknuts, we've been known to wear down fists with our chin, and we're willing to do that today. All right. What do you guys think? I think the echo's gone.
I hope so.
Check in here on, if you're in the chat, if you could please check in and let me know that all is smooth and you can hear us. I appreciate your patience there on the chat for our live peeps. All right. We're going to talk recruiting today, and we're going to break down some of the film from the game against Minnesota because our guy Mark has done it. Good to go. Cam St. Pre in the mix, my brother. Thank you. All right. We are fresh and ready to go. Very interesting. I just said to the guys, if there's an offer given to an Ohioan, he's probably an offensive lineman. And that's not necessarily true. It's not necessarily not true. Let's talk about the latest offer. There's already been a crystal ball rolled. He is a local, Davis Seaman. I was hoping that, Garrett, you could let us know what you think about him. And then, Mark, we are in your wheelhouse.
Yeah, Davis Seaman, Bishop Watterson right down the road. Awesome right tackle for them. Alan Trio was the one that initially crystal balled him after speaking with him, and I ended up speaking with him as well shortly after he got his offer. And I almost joined Alan. I almost crystal balled him on the spot because, frankly, he was admitted, yeah, this offer is going to be really tough to turn down. And my family grew up rooting for Ohio State. We all love Ohio State. But this is a kid that's blown up in recent weeks. The day before he got his Ohio State offer, he got an offer from Penn State. I would guess that if Ohio State wants him, and surely they do because they offered, and they don't offer in-state kids that they're not ready to take more often than not, he's probably going to be in the class at some point. I'm very overly cautious with crystal balls, so I haven't done it just then after one conversation. But, yeah, it would probably be a very easy crystal ball 100% score for me if I wanted to do that. So, he was giddy about it, and I would if he's good enough to earn the Ohio State offer, which he clearly is, I'd expect him to end up in the class before it's all said and done, at least as of right now.
Nobody minds a crystal
27
ball.
class, by the way.
Okay.
You can go with that video.
I thought we had the reverb there again. I was starting to panic. That's my fault. All right, Mark. Height, weight, vibes. You know this guy.
Okay, so last year I went to see Bishop Watterson play against Chardon, and we were looking at the other tackle, number 77, Peter Gleadis. That was the name. We were trying to see is when we talked about the Big Four last year in the class of 2026, Pete was just outside of that Big Four. He was the next big man on the list. You can see him working there, 77. But Davis Seaman on the other side, it was almost like I was distracted.
65.
Look squirrel. And I was looking at 77 more than 65. 65 last year came off as like a 240, 250-pound lineman, Seaman. And then, again, we go to the college showcases, and we spent our time with the Gleadis there.
That.
Yeah, Davis Seaman is now 275 pounds, 6'5". His punch is obvious. He's got a little twitch to him for offensive linemen. Yeah. We usually talk about that with the sprinters and the athletes that they can get in the open field. He's got a twitch, meaning he's got a great punch. He's got a great first step. He'll blow guys up with that type of mentality and his get off the ball more than, the contrast on the other side of the offensive line there, Peter Gleadis, who does it all with power and mauling and just a massive body. So you see them going for this type of body at Ohio State. Why? Well, we truly need a left tackle who can kick step and be a great athlete on the edge. You can't keep taking all 300-pounders. And last year it seemed like we took some big guys, and through the transfer portal, we took some guys that were finished products. This is a kid that comes in with the raw natural ability. It's just, okay, at 275, let's put the weight on right and keep him athletic. Has a bit of a tight end body, which is a compliment.
I like that. At this age.
Yeah, even a defensive end frame. And to get his updated height, it says 6'5". Last year, I think he was 6'4", 250. I have to see him in person. I'm never one to say I'm going to lock it down until I see it. But Watterson is going to be a team that's going to be playing probably to week 16. Okay, they really have a ton of returning starters back, a lot of Division I players. They're a hungry team. So I didn't jump out of the gate trying to see them. I knew that they'd have some shelf life, if you will. Coached
by Jeff Ulenake, if that's the truth. That's good stuff right there. Former NFL offensive lineman. And if you can spell his last name, go ahead. I think I was behind him on a flight one time to the Caribbean, but I digress. Let's talk about the other guys that were here this weekend, Garrick. So we're getting used to this new kind of recruiting reality. And a lot of the, things that when Dwayne Long and I used to do the show, there were certain giveaways. Who got the last visit? The package deals. All that's done. The timing of everything is different now. I don't think you can take anything as gospel. That means we're into a new flip season. And so it does seem like Ohio State has clearly identified several people that they're trying to flip for whatever reason. And some of these guys have decommitted. Garrick, let's talk one by one of the guys who were here this past weekend and if the visit had any effect on their recruitment, as we expect that it should have, considering they got to go to a night game and see Ohio State kick some tail.
All right. Well, we'll start with Kamari Bing because it's the most topical based off of the events of yesterday. So Kamari Bing is a great example of what modern recruiting is like. And what I mean by that is, so I had a conversation with Kamari, who's a nice defensive back from Baltimore, St. Francis Academy, a powerhouse up there. Matt Guerrieri has pitched to him that he views them as the best free safety in the 26 class. And a lot of schools are telling him that right now. So I talked to Kamari at about 11:30 yesterday, and he told me that Ohio State and Maryland are essentially in a tie for the lead in his recruitment, right? And I was like, well, a tie, so what might break it? And he's like, I need to see what Maryland can do to surpass Ohio State, which to me sounded like Ohio State really took the lead after that visit, right? So I put the article up on Bucknuts, and then a few hours later, Kamari Bing decommits from Maryland. Now, normally, when you hear the word decommits, you think, it's over, right? That recruitment's done. But I don't think this rules out Maryland. Kamari seems to be pretty determined to take his recruitment all the way to National Signing Day in December. And he has more visits to make. It's not Ohio State would love it if he made a decision soon, of course, because it would bode very well for them. But I expect that he's going to take it to National Signing Day. And I think that Ohio State's got a great shot, brass tacks. But he's going to take an official to Indiana. He's going to take an official visit to Alabama on November 8th. And I wouldn't be surprised if he visits Maryland again to see what the Terrapins can do to make a last-ditch effort to keep him home. I wouldn't exactly say that Maryland is likely at this point. Once you decommit, it leaves kind of a sour taste in your mouth with the athletic staff. Now, there have been guys that have decommitted from a staff before and eventually ended up at that school. Malachi Toney at Miami is a great example of that, right? But, Kamari Bing's a great example of how modern recruiting works. Says it's a tie, and then a few hours later he decommits from Maryland, and then now we got a 4-horse race until December.
And here's another thing I would say about modern recruiting. You will find many people respond to this by Ohio State doesn't recruit against Maryland. Times have changed.
Dan, I was just thinking that where maybe in 10 years it'll be more clear, but there's going to be a shift of the top teams in college football, not based on the traditional factors that – I can remember a podcast a year ago, how we get you in the NFL facilities, locker room. Maryland has Under Armour. Let's just call that what it is. And there's going to be schools that have pipelines of money. We're going to know who those people are, whether it's the Oracle people that just did the thing at Michigan or Portnoy. there are these people coming out of the woodwork to be a part of this college football craze where you can put your foot on the gas pedal for your favorite team. And as you said that, why are we even talking about Maryland as a possible better place than Ohio State? It shouldn't even, never in the history, and both of you have kind of alluded to that, but we're in such a different day that I can't stress that enough, that in 5 or 10 years, the powers that be will be a totally different group. And Ohio State's going to be in that group. There's no doubt that we have, the right mix of donors, NIL, and all that stuff to do this. But other places are going to come out of the woodwork.
I will say Mark was more gung-ho about this happening than I was. I'll say this. I think we were both right in that I was just confident that Ohio State, no matter what you do, no matter what you change, is going to be at the forefront of it. I think they've proven that. Like I said this to Dave, I'm not sure this is not the zenith of the program right now in terms of how well they're playing. Like, it just in terms of on the field, excuse me, winning the national championship, replacing as many people as they have, and possibly being better and ranked number one, that's like Nick Saban stuff. We haven't done that in the past. We've had great teams here, but I can't remember a time when I really thought we had the best team 2 years in a row and this much personnel turned over. So that's a great thing. And I would also say that in terms of not recruiting against Maryland, the number one player in the class, defensive end, Zion Ely, is from Maryland, is committed to Maryland. Now, Maryland can't compete with Ohio State across the board, but they can go in and pay 1 or 2 dudes, 3 dudes, a ton. And you're right. Kevin Plank is the main donor for Under Armour. He may or may not have been the guy when my wife was in high school that would buy all the kegs for the parties. That may or may not have happened. Kevin Plank may or may not have come up to me and my wife in the parking lot of a Dead show before he started Under Armour, and he was selling wristbands that he went to Chile and bought or something. He's an entrepreneur. And then he asked us to invest in a company he was starting, and we thought, this guy's a knucklehead. It was Under Armour. So that didn't go well for us. Digressing, he loves him some football. He was actually a walk-on the football team. That's how Under Armour started. Maryland has gone through some down periods, but they will have a chance to compete for these guys. That said, I would expect Ohio State to come out on top here. That's just my vibe. Next guy up, Gary.
We're going with Amari Latimer, a running back from Tyrone, Georgia. Mm-hmm. Now, Amari is currently committed to Wisconsin. This was a stealthy official visit, if you want to call it that. Wasn't reported until the day of. Ohio State didn't want it out there out of respect to the kid because, frankly, Amari didn't tell Wisconsin that he was going to Ohio State. So there's your first indication that there could be some smoke here, right? Ohio State wasn't aggressively pursuing a second running back to pair alongside Faber Akey, but Carlos Lachlan did visit Amari during Ohio State's off week. He loves the senior film. He's played in 6 games and almost has 1,000 rushing yards and 15 touchdowns. I think Ohio State views him as a very underrated running back. And I think that there's some cautious optimism that they can get this done here. Now, I know that his current program right now, unfortunately for Luke Fickell, things are not going very well over there. What makes Amari a little complicated is that his brother plays for Wisconsin. So there's a lot of love for that staff over there by that family. And as that stands right now, I believe that Amari and his family are going home and having some very serious conversations about what's best for them in their future. Again, there's some cautious optimism from Ohio State. I don't think any decision's been made. If he wants in, Ohio State's certainly going to take him. He's definitely a take for the Buckeyes. And I think he would be a fantastic pairing alongside Faber Akey. So, yeah, there's some optimism there for sure with Amari. And I think that, unfortunately, unless Luke Fickell starts getting a couple W's here, it's very possible that that staff is gone by December. And I think that the players and, the recruits are very well aware of that fact.
It would be hard. Use the golden rule here and think about yourself. It would be very hard to walk the plank with Wisconsin if Ohio State was offering. Now, Wisconsin does have a brilliant track record for running backs, offensive linemen and running backs. Jonathan Taylor, he's not the best running back in the NFL. He's close. Boy, he is so good. You want to watch a great running back, and I was not a Jonathan Taylor guy. I don't know what got into him this season. He has jumped off the screen from day one, at least to me. Good Lord.
I 100% agree. I'm a fantasy football geek, and he looks like he has juice. He has balance. He has vision. He
must have been hurt.
South. Yeah, he's north and south. He does.
But he must have been hurt last year because he looks like a new man. He is spectacular.
Javonte Williams is the other one, and I know you love Javonte Williams. God. I know you love me saying that, but where did that juice come from? Every time they pitch him the ball on the edge, I'm like, oh, watch this get run down from behind. And next thing you know, he turns the corner and he's down the sidelines at 220 pounds with power.
How about this? People think he got caught from behind. He did not score a touchdown, but did you know that Ohio State, the Cowboys had no timeouts left. So he knew if he got tackled in bounds, the clock would have run out. Here's why I love Javonte Williams. High school valedictorian. When I heard that, and I heard he had hurt his knee, and he had the 2-year window on your knee injury, and I'm like, oh, valedictorian. You know what valedictorians do? Attack their rehab. And he is back with bells on. So that was a major digression there.
Yeah, sorry about that.
That's all right. Any digression that makes the Cowboys feel good is one I enjoy, and probably not loved by others. That said, running back is interesting because Favor Aki, and I want to issue apologies to Favor Aki, Favor Aki's family, Delaware Hayes. All of our guys have gone to see Favor Aki this season. Bill went to see him. He played one play and hurt his ankle. Garrick went to see him and they got run, and Mark went to see him and he wasn't playing. So we are not the Midas touch for young Favor. We will leave him alone, especially as they go further. If Delaware Hayes has any designs on having a good season, we don't want to be the albatross there. But what is very interesting is I think everybody knows about David Gabriel Georges, a class of 2027 running back that Ohio State is very, very interested in. And there was some talk that he was going to reclassify. Garrick, you have an update on that?
Yes, I do. So once I found out Amari was on campus, my first instinct was, okay, so I better ask around about David Gabriel Georges because I know that he's Ohio State's top target in that class. And should he have moved to the 26th class, he would have instantly moved to the top of the board. Almost maybe to any position. Maybe that's a stretch, but they just view the guy that highly. Anyhow, so I asked around a little bit, and there was some smoke for a little bit, especially around David Gabriel Georges high school that he may. But as of a couple days ago, I've heard that he is not reclassifying to 26, and Ohio State is not expecting him to be in the 26th class. They're expecting him to stay in 27. So that doesn't change anything in terms of their interest of him, of course. They would have loved to have him either way. He will be by far and away their top target for the 27 class at running back. But, yes, so Amari Latimer was kind of a dead giveaway to me that, okay, maybe David Gabriel Georges isn't reclassifying, especially since Ohio State set that Amari would be a take if he wants in. So, yeah, we can talk about 2027 recruiting on a later podcast, but, yes, I had a good source tell me that David will likely stay in the 27 class.
Well, it was a good source. Yeah, and that also, like I said, there's sometimes when dominoes aren't direct in recruiting. I actually think that was a direct domino. I get the feeling like he told them no to 26, and they said, okay, we're going to go fill the spot. And I got an interesting discussion at the end of the show here that Garrick and I had that I'm going to have with both you guys, which is kind of a modern football discussion, very modern. Go over the rest of the visitors. I know there was a defensive end there named Dre Quinn.
Yeah, Dre Quinn. I thought Ohio State was playing catch up here on his visit, especially because what's the rule we always say in modern recruiting, Dan? If you can't finish first for a guy, you better damn finish second.
Yeah,
and
especially now.
When he committed to Clemson originally, Texas was the runner-up, according to many in the recruiting industry. And once he decommitted from Clemson, Texas got a lot of predictions to eventually land him. Now, where do I think that Dre Quinn stands after visiting Ohio State? I think that Ohio State may have even pulled equal. And it's important to clarify, Dre did not take an official visit this weekend. He was an unofficial visitor, and I believe a second visit is being set up. That could be for the Penn State game coming up on November 1st. That's not confirmed as of yet, but it could be that. And I think that there's real interest here. Now, Dre's also going to take other visits. Texas is going to be incredibly difficult to beat, especially with the long-standing relationship they have with him. But the update I got for you is that Ohio State's got a shot in this one.
Dre Quinn, impressive dude. All right, who else?
Well, we can talk about secret visitor number 2, who was Micah, his nickname, Champ Smith. Sometimes people just call him Champ Smith. So for the purposes of this podcast, we'll call him Champ, right? So Champ has always been interesting to me because the guy lives in Florida, but for most of his recruitment, he visited Columbus like he lived in Cleveland. He took numerous flights, appeared at Ohio State's campus a ton. Like from a sophomore, junior year, he was always in Columbus, loved Ohio State, had a great relationship with the staff, right? And it kind of caught the staff off guard a little bit when he commits to UCLA out of nowhere in June. Now, it's not a state secret around the recruiting industry that a lot of that was very heavily, monetary incentive. Yes.
Cream.
So once Deshaun Foster gets his pink slip and things are in complete turmoil at UCLA, the recent win against Penn State notwithstanding, crazy win, but again, we digress. I asked around a couple weeks ago, like, hey, do you think you guys could get in with Micah? And there was some hemming, there was some hawing, and I think that's a very financially driven recruit. And this is me talking. I think that their evaluation of him is probably not quite what his asking price was. Now, do I think that Champ is more likely to be in Columbus now than he was 2 weeks ago? Yes. Do I think that he's going to be in Columbus? That remains to be seen. I think this one is very fluid, and there's a couple tea leaves here. Tea leaf number 1 is Ohio State may need another offensive lineman if Aaron Thomas flips to Florida State. Aaron Thomas visited Florida State along with Corbin Fordham, who did eventually decommit from Ohio State and flipped to play for his father's alma mater. And Aaron Thomas, similar to Corbin, is also a Florida State legacy. So he being there for the Florida State-Miami game, I'm not sounding the alarm bells yet, but I'm definitely raising an eyebrow.
Yep.
It could be something to watch going forward. And in terms of the second development is that I just think that Micah and his family may just go, do I really want to play for UCLA? Again, that recent awesome win notwithstanding, there's a lot of questions around that program. And when you get a new coaching staff in there, whoever it is, you have no idea. You have no idea what you're going to get. They may value you completely differently than Deshaun Foster's crew did.
It's also far away from him.
Yeah, complete opposite end of the country. So I think there's a lot of things to think about here. Again, I think Ohio State isn't sure how it's going, even though they're optimistic. They got him on campus, which is a great step, and they've had great relationships with him. And like I said before, he visited Ohio State like he lived in Cleveland. So he definitely has some affinity for the Buckeyes here. So we'll see if this can get done down the stretch.
I will say that they have enough offensive lines, not super pressing to me just because the state of Ohio is so fertile, as it were, there, but we will keep an eye on it. Are we done with those guys? Can we do some game film breakdown? You got anything more for us?
A little quick tidbit on Jacob Curry, and this is more Bill's update than mine.
Right on, but let's Jacob Curry, linebacker from Nice, Tim Tebow High in Florida, originally committed to Northwestern. I believe Oklahoma's are also in the mix.
Yes, Jacob Curry, he's down to 3 teams. He's down to Oklahoma, he's down to Ohio State, and Florida State, and he will visit Florida State this weekend. Once he completes that Florida State visit, I think he's going to go into decision mode and make a decision pretty quickly. From what I understand, it's pretty wide open between all 3 of those right now. So it'll be a matter of how hard did Ohio State push, how hard do they want him in their class, and maybe how high do they have him above Jaden Williams or vice versa. So we'll probably get an answer on him pretty quickly, and then once that answer is settled, we'll probably learn about Jaden after that too.
Good deal. All right. Yeah, finishing up some 26 recruiting. This is kind of like the second run here. And My name is Dan, and that is still basking in Spanish. You got Google. Come on, guys. All right, Marcus, take us to the film and your thoughts. We're going to go over the Minnesota film. As always, Buckeye in the Sky runs every Monday. We try and have it out, depending on how quickly I can get it up for Mark, noon time. And it is an elite breakdown of the key plays from the game. And we try and focus in on different stuff. Now, we focused heavily on the passing game. And I showed this to the guys yesterday. I know Pro Football Focus draws negativity from many for some of their evaluations. I will say this. The grades they do, I take with a grain of salt. But some of the evaluation they do, the straight accuracy rankings, and how they view players is one thing. When I was watching their review of the Minnesota game, the main guy said that it crossed his mind that the number 1 draft pick next year will be either Jeremiah Smith or Julian Sayin, which is saying something. So, Mark, bring us to the forefront here and take us through the first half of Buckeye in the Sky. Going to have to pay for the second half.
Yeah, as we're breaking this down, I've noticed this, and I think I talked to you guys about this in a group text, the national love fest for Ohio State right now. And Julian Sayin and Jeremiah Smith get their own, but Matt Patricia's defense, I can't scroll through my reels anymore without seeing someone break down Matt Patricia. And I guess we'll say imitation is the sincerest form of flattery, because we've been breaking these things down for a while, and it's fun to see them jump on this bandwagon of things we're seeing or telling you guys about weeks in advance. It's so cool to see the Patricia defense and the way he's doing different things and trying to interpret this. And Dan, when I break this down, I try to make it so, like, if you played football in 7th or 8th grade, maybe in high school, I'm using terms you should have heard and things that aren't very exotic or foreign. But when you get into Matt Patricia stuff,
it's hard to do.
You got to know some football. You got to know different things. So it's harder to explain. I'm finding myself more tongue-tied than ever to explain basic concepts, okay? Personnel is what I've noticed is different. Arvell Reese is a middle linebacker. He's playing defensive end. Caden Curry's a defensive end who you now stand up. Those two things alone make people think, well, why is Arvell? Is he coming? Is he going to go back? Is Caden Curry now all of a sudden someone who's going to drop? It really is clouding a normal, what should be a cover 2 4-man rush. You're like, is that 2 down linemen and 2 linebackers that are going to – I mean, there's so many questions when you look at how the personnel stacks up. Then you see Sonny Styles in the middle. I think every person that played like youth football, they ran a 5-2 defense where Sonny Styles would be a linebacker down here in the box in that 5-2 defense, right? So right now we're playing the 5-2 defense, and we have no linebacker here. Obvious flaw to that defense. Downs is so freaking good that in a couple steps he's your will linebacker, but also in a couple steps he's your robber. Or what's going on here is called Tampa 2. When you run cover 2, you're really worried about your safeties getting beat down the outside. And you see right there, those guys got to widen, because if you run streaks down the sidelines, you got to have safeties there to intercept the ball. So your middle linebacker, or your Derek Brooks, is the guy who runs down the middle. And here we go. We got 4 verticals to take those safeties out of there. Now there's nobody in the middle of the field, but Caleb Downs is there to rob this play. Great play design by Minnesota. They actually have 4 verticals where as soon as they see which side Downs goes to, they read the backside hole. The linebacker maybe could carry him for some depth if there was nothing in front of him, but great execution by Minnesota. Great play call, and that's how you beat cover 2. Like, that's a clinic tape of beating cover 2.
That was on Sonny.
Yeah, and you know what?
He's got to turn and – that's the Derek Brooks thing. Derek Brooks, like you were saying, was the first guy that could turn and run and stay with the receiver. So Sonny can too. He's just got to turn and run there.
Well, Dan, let's really dive into that, because Downs, like I said, is the middle linebacker on this play, and you know, right, Sonny is actually the Mike. So you're right, he's the one that's got to turn and run. But they gave Downs that assignment, like pre-snap, that you're going to be our guy here. Where, like you're saying, usually this guy carries and runs too. So, you know, it's scheme. It's I like giving credit to the other team every now and then. I think we're averaging less than 5 points a game. Can we give someone credit for getting 20 or 30 yards here? Because this defense, you find a hole, you had a good day. And I loved how Fleck kind of knew that coming into this game, that this was going to be a tough game. Yeah, it really is. It's just a great scheme. I'm not a hater on anybody. And this is a film breakdown. This is a non-emotional reaction to a game. We're like, let's be very dry here. People always say, Mark, you're very dry and very monotone in these things. Well,
no one says
film break. No, not as far as I can see.
No one says that as far as you know.
Yeah, but that's what this is. This isn't an emotional raw thing. And look at how great this is. This is what's actually going on here. Are we getting lucky? Are we getting good? Okay, so the highlighted safety is walking into the box, 4-man rush. There's going to be an 8-man box here where you're going to see all 4 of those guys. This is because Ohio State has a tight end and a fullback in the game. You're going to get that type of look. You better have some NFL corners if you want to run 8-man boxes and put your guys one-on-one with Carnell Tate and Jeremiah Smith. If I'm the safety and Jeremiah Smith's on this side, which way do you think I'm going at the snap of the ball? Which means the guy backside all day is just going to have one-on-ones, okay? When we were live at a game this year, I noticed Jeremiah Smith's deep ball. He really gets some arc on it, and it comes down literally.
Julian Sands deep ball.
Julian Sands, I'm sorry. It comes down in a bucket. It really, you can see that ball, turn over in the air and almost start a nose dive into the ground. And this was it again. We saw it on a bunch of post plays. The placement of that ball to the outside shoulder where only he can get it, where it looks like it's a handoff, a 45-yard, just like, hey, I'm going to place this in your bucket. Can't say enough about Julian Sands' deep ball, height on his ball and his accuracy. Yeah, it just really and with those one-on-ones, it's going to be a long year for teams. Okay, cover 3. Everybody knows cover 3. That's probably your most basic coverage. Strong safeties rolled up. At the snap of the ball, you're going to see a cover 2 rotation and a little bit of a different rotation where the corner on the backside is going to turn into the safety, and they're going to have their outside linebacker drop. There's your 3 linebackers underneath. And again, you went from a cover 3 shell to a cover 2 disguise. Now, no big deal for Ohio State. That's kind of a Matt Patricia thing. But the play action here is the perfect play call with the RPO, where if that outside linebacker bites, you're going to have a slant running right through that void behind it. And Julian saying, this is a run play. Everyone's block and run. It's his decision to pull this and throw it. You see those guys up front, they're almost a yard downfield, some of those linemen. So this is truly Julian's call and Julian's split second, pull the ball, throw the slant. I mean, to get your feet set and throw it that quickly, these are some of the unseen things that Julian Saints doing that's given him this NFL ranking all of a sudden, where we didn't know who the starter was a month ago. Now,
sure we didn't.
Yeah, sure we didn't. And Keenholz does a good job when he comes in later. Okay. Minnesota is in a run heavy formation. They have an extra couple tight ends in here. So you're going to see a 5-man defensive line.
Yeah,
again, that's Matt Patricia saying, you know what? I have the personnel to get 5 big bodies in there and send all of them and just be run heavy and not have to play my 4-3 or 3-4 scheme. The linebackers are up close. You can see that, okay, there's probably 7 guys coming here on this 4th and 1. And this is a cover 2, but this is a cheater cover 2. It's not true cover 2 because I think they're selling out for a run here. Like I said a week ago, sometimes it's a 50-50. You just go run or you go pass. And Ohio State's, look at those linebackers coming. The ball's not snapped. They're on their way.
Tidal wave coming.
Yeah, these guys are unblocked. They're downhill. If a receiver was going out or a tight end snuck out, we may have been in trouble there. But that's how you do it on 4th and 1. You guess right. You overwhelm the point of attack. You get the push. Oh, there was a fun one there with the unbalanced. Okay. Oh, I know you like the trickeration.
Okay, one more.
Okay, so what's so fun about this, we used to give Chip Kelly all the credit for all these cool things and 3 receivers. This receiver covers up number 4, right? So he's not eligible. Well, Minnesota's in man-to-man, and when you break the huddle, you only have about 5 or 10 seconds to make the call. Guess who covered the tight end man-to-man and didn't? This guy was never going to go out for a pass. So you burn one of their men in coverage. I love these tricks in the football game. We're like, haha, we wasted one of your men. It worked. And then
that's chess.
Again, you have these one-on-ones on the outside where if you're going to play cover 1 and man-to-man, boy, you better know what you're doing out there. You better have your math right on who's 40 times faster than the other, because Carnell Tate just blows by this poor kid. He's not even in the picture. You need time to set these things up. How about the creativity here? The fake dive, the fake Jeremiah Smith, faking the Jeremiah Smith. Whew. Go ahead, Dan.
I would call this the Steph Curry play, because I'm telling you, they run Smith through here and the entire defense is like, where is Steph Curry going? This is how Golden State runs their defense. They run Steph through it. Everybody turns and runs. And they're like, this guy's getting a layup. Watch this. Everybody moves. And then you're putting this unfortunate soul up here one-on-one with an NFL receiver. I'm sorry. I noticed that during the game. Go ahead, Mark.
Yeah, no, and that's exactly what you're trying to do, is use this type of player. And if you have a player like this anywhere in the NFL, NBA, whatever, that can draw this type of attention, boy, does it set other things up.
Well, keep in mind, sorry to interrupt you. You know what these kids have been hearing all week on TV and from their coaches? We can't let 4 beat us. We can't let 4 beat us.
Yep.
And then
you know,
that exaggerates the movement. I
mean, and you can see the screen there. I mean, even this safety whose pass responsibility, he is a pass guy. He's 20-some yards deep, for back for pass. He has abandoned any chance of helping this guy out one-on-one. Now, the subtlety in this play, which is really good, and I didn't pick this up the first time, but Carnell Tate just doesn't run by this guy. And even though this guy's feet are facing him, he's going to give it a little post fake, a little nod here. And it's going to freeze this guy's feet, and then he's just going to fade to the outside and blow by him by 10 yards. But look how subtle the footwork is here on this. There's a step to the inside, and done. Even leaving is what it's called. Someone gets even with you, and you're not running backwards. Yeah. I mean, and it makes Julian Sayin have an easier throw. It's just, okay, this one's all personnel, and all the rush men we're putting in. I really enjoy the X's and O's this year. As much as Chip Kelly was refreshing last year, you're seeing the same things here in Jim Knowles. And, we have some of the top coordinators in the country. Yeah, boy, yeah.
I've heard that name this week. Anyone hear about how's Jim Knowles doing, by the way? How are things going over there?
I mean, when I saw the picture of Neuheisel,
I know.
Neuheisel looks like he just graduated high school, and he's like, a skateboarder or something out in the West Coast going to catch some waves after practice.
Funny thing about that is it's Rick Neuheisel, the dad, and the son is Jerry Neuheisel. How often do you see that? Usually Jerry's the old guy and Rick's the youngster, but we should all be so blessed to get those sunshine manes they have. Old Jim Knowles, things aren't going too well for Jimmy. It's funny because when in recruiting or coaching, when you lose a guy on these sites, people tend to come out and mention things they didn't like about them and talk about how, you guys are getting our discarded peeps. And then there was like this discussion on the Penn State boards, like, is Ohio State just saying sour grapes about how it's going to be a transition with Knowles and how the early time for Knowles and Ohio State didn't go too well? It was not hyperbole. That's exactly what happened with us. It was too complicated of a defense, and it didn't work. Now, I would argue that our defense now might be even more complicated, but now we have Caleb Downs and Matt Patricia at the helm, and I think the number one thing, and we talked about this in the roundtable, one of the most impressive things about Ohio State's defense this year is they don't bust. I'm knocking on wood here. But if you're going to score on them, you've got to make a great play, and that's going to happen. I remember the touchdown, Livingstone's touchdown that Arch Manning threw was just a great throw. There was a play where Lorenzo got beat in coverage, but there's no ball is snapped, throwing it to a wide open guy and he's running free. They just have not busted. And I have to assume some of that is not just Patricia, but
I kind of have a thought on that.
Okay,
you said Knowles was really complicated, and it was. Those 3 safeties and all the adjusters and all the different things they were doing, that was complex. This appears to be complex. Okay, and I don't want to. The genius in Matt Patricia is, I've always thought this about all coaches, is you simplify it for your players. You do all the thinking. Yeah, and then you say, like, for instance, when we showed you that thing where Caden Curry just stands up, he's not doing anything different. He's still a defensive end. He's probably coming 90% of the time. But the fact that they're letting him stand up changes what you have to read. And the fact that Arvell is probably dropping back the linebacker more than he's coming, but when he stands up or puts his hand down, it changes things. And same thing with, like the defense we saw where Caleb Downs was linebacker. Caleb Downs has probably watched the will linebacker play the base 5-2 defense his whole life. And when Coach Patricia says, hey, you're going to be the will linebacker for a play, do you understand that? Yeah, I understand it. I understand my zone. And I think lining him up as the will, but playing the exact same 5-2 defense that everybody's played with a couple stand-up guys just changes the perception for quarterbacks, for coordinators. They have to interpret it where the 5-2 is the most basic defense on earth, but now that you've got a couple guys standing up and a safety at linebacker and it's kind of covered up differently, it looks way more complex. And it causes guys like me to do way more mansplaining to everybody when this is a basic thing. There's probably people that, Mark, it's only a 5-2. No, there's a way to decorate this. There's a way to use personnel. Even when he came out a few plays later where he had 5 defensive linemen, where a couple plays later it was 2 linebackers and 3 depth. It's the same exact defense. It's just, hey, guys, now you're the outside linebacker, but, you may be called a defensive end. So disguise, I think that the genius is doing the thinking for the kids and just letting them play. And playing fast is the one thing that when you're learning a defense, you usually lose that ability to play fast. You're reacting, not, taking your instincts and jumping ahead of things. So, or you're like a little bit of a half-second delay. This defense looks like they are after it. I mean,
they look so prepared.
So prepared. Yeah.
The guys running. This is going to sound goofy. Guys running straight lines, which means they know where they're going and they're decisive.
The thinking, there's no stutter step, there's no freeze, there's no shuffle the feet. It's all beelines, it's all down north south. Yeah, triggering. Very, very good observations.
Well, it happens every now and then. And then we're talking about so there's been comparisons now, and Dave Biddle did not do anything to tamp down the hyperbole surrounding Julian Sayin by comparing him to Joe Montana. For those of you in Garrick's age bracket, Joe Montana, before Tom Brady was widely considered the best quarterback in NFL history. Do you think that's an accurate statement? If there was a vote, he was probably the all-century quarterback. Mark, do you think that's a fair statement?
Oh, I'm going to pull up.
Don't go on your 49ers rant because you love him so much.
Well, you're talking about my guy.
Awesome name. I know who Joe Montana is. I know who Joe Montana is.
Mark is basically a DeBartolo by tangential Youngstown.
I got a chance to go work for the 49ers and be a ball boy.
I've seen the pictures. I've seen your hair.
There.
Your blonde mane flowing in the San Francisco wind.
Plays. Like I couldn't have had a bigger man crush on Joe Montana growing up than ever, and that is the Julian Sayin comparison. Now, here's an interesting story. When Joe Montana hurt his elbow back in the day, and that's when Steve Young became whatever, my job was to play catch with Joe Montana in the morning and warm him up before rehab. And as a college football player, I was used to catching pretty hot balls, I thought. Montana did not look like he threw a hard ball. You watched it, and you would never go back to this tape and be like, wow, look at the hose on that guy. Look at the Josh Allen, Justin Herbert, rocket balls. That ball came in and popped my hands as hard as any ball I've ever caught. It had spin, it had rotation, and Julian Sayin is that same type of quarterback. I think Julian Sayin's arm's a little more live, and I think
so too. I didn't want to say it out loud, but I agree.
Due to the training of today, and I think if Joe Montana was a kid today and had the training and all the other stuff, maybe his arm would have appeared a little more live. But that is a very great comparison, the quick release, the way you get the ball out in time. There are so many things about it that I was just like, yeah. I didn't want to give that comparison because you're going back so far on people, and people. It's but Joe Montana is Tom Brady before Tom Brady was Tom Brady.
Put it this way: if you took the Mount Rushmore of quarterbacks in the NFL, there's 100% chance that Joe Montana's on there. So it's a lofty comparison. I've also seen, and we'll get out on this. I've also seen comparisons to Drew Brees. I know Julian Sayin's arm is stronger than Drew Brees's. Drew Brees was an unbelievable anticipator. He was always throwing it to where the guy was going to be. Sayin is more put it on you. One of the best passes he threw was the out pass to Julian in the end zone, where he had about window about this big, and it was beautiful. All right.
Hold
we
on.
digressed again.
Hold on 1 second.
Okay.
I learned that Mark used to catch passes from Joe Montana. This is the first time hearing about this, and we just sort of
You can pull up the picture, Dan. That's me and the guy back in the day.
Oh my God!
Wow. Yeah. What a humble brag. Mark's like, well, Julian Sainz getting compared to Joe Montana. Well, let me tell you, I would know about Joe Montana.
That looks like prime Joe Montana. He looks so young.
He's a dreamboat, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely.
That is hilarious.
Yeah,
all right.
There you go. Enjoy that one.
If you made it through the 45th minute, you were rewarded with a picture of Mark's son with Joe. I'm just kidding.
Ugh.
That is actually Mark. Although Mark's son, you could cut and paste him into that picture right now and be like, that's Joe Montana's buddy. All right, that's very cool. As you see,
you want Steve Young photos? Every day. Yeah, we can go Steve. Yeah, we can go Steve Young if you want.
Oh, don't you dare!
You really? You don't want to do? You don't want
Bring
to
it
do
up.
Steve
I'll
Young?
throw it up there.
Okay, hold on a second. Let me see if I can get it up there.
And I will say this: the people that are talking about the Dwight Clark catch and how it was so enjoyable. That is the last time I cried from a sporting event. I was all I think of.
Okay, go with
10 years old, and it still left a mark.
Look who I get to warm up with before games.
Look at this, dude. Are you kidding me? That's right before the Cowboys beat you, probably.
Probably, yeah. We don't want him to break his fingers, so you need me to catch it. But
still, the greatest football game for the Cowboys that I've ever watched was winning at San Francisco, first Super Bowl run, 13-3 at 14-2. Everybody knew it was really the Super Bowl. All right, we have digressed, but if you made it this far, you know Mark is not full of it. He is legit. That is impressive.
Mark looks like he's staring down. He looks like he's staring down a fan. Like, try it. Come on. Try and get out.
You're the catch guy.
Look at how intense he is.
I'm the catch guy.
Hand it to him.
Yep.
Always love to see that. All right, that's very cool. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. I know I did. Have a good one. Nutters of Buck.